Hi everyone, we are the team Windward and we made the game Ruins of Aquarion. I'm Shin.
I'm Zach.
I'm Matthew.
I'm John.
I'm Gerald.
I'm Mitchell.
So, as an overview, our game is an adventure puzzle game which allows the player to sail from island to island, discover ruins, and also solve environment puzzles to obtain sigils of Aquarion. We have three main goals for the player experience. The first one is that the player will feel curious and uncertain as they explore the islands. The second one is that they will feel abandoned and alone as they traverse among these various ruins. And the third point is that the player will feel satisfaction after solving the puzzles using their logic man. There are four main features regarding tag. So the first one is boat movement, the second one is docking, the third one is puzzle, and the final one is water shader and tokens.
Starting with the boat movement and the docking mechanic, the boat movement is set up such that as the player uses the movement keys, it'll slowly ramp up and increase speed over time. And then when you release the keys, the boat will take a moment to slide into a stop. And turning also slowly increases over time and then slowly fades back, all giving the feel of an actual boat on water, even though technically it is a hovercraft. The docking mechanic is set up such that when the boat hits the invisible collider of the dock, the player will be transferred to the dock, allowing them to explore the land. And then if they're on land and they activate the dock, it transfers possession back to the boat, causing the player to be able to seamlessly switch between what mode of the game they are on. With the puzzles in our game, they are all lever puzzle based, where you have to use context clues of the environment to figure out which levers you are supposed to pull. And if you pull any incorrect levers, it will usually put up a barrier preventing you from continuing. Where if you pull only the correct ones, everything will open up, allowing you to access the four sigils on the side in gray. They will all be in full color once you collect them all, at which point the game ends.
Well, for the water, we improved the shader so its style can match with the rest environment better. We also built some VFX particles, so like the water spray as the boat move, and like in the screen this picture, there's a beacon so the player can locate the ruins as they see it.
All right. The three major art features we implemented were world design, our environmental assets, and our character assets. For world design, continuing on from our alpha presentation, we still have the three islands in the shapes of various sea animals, with different buildings and ruins and such on them. The biggest change you'll see from our alpha is that there's a lot more bits and bobs strewn about the island, giving them a more lived-in sense and also more ruined sense. And also some more things for visual clarity, using pillars and other vertical aspects to draw players' attention to specific parts of the island.
We also used a blend layer in order to mix different types of sand and grass together to create a tropical beach environment, coupled with some typical tropical shrubbery.
And then for environmental assets, there's a couple examples here. These are all made in Maya and then Texture and Substance Painter. We went for a pretty simple, low poly design to save time and allow us to output a larger amount of assets. But as you can see, we're able to get some pretty nice and unique shapes of these assets by combining them, sort of like building out of Legos. And then, for example, the bench on the left is one of our kind of flavor assets, which we use to spice up the environment and make it feel like a lived-in area.
We also created a human playable main character, as well as a goat NPC, using a combination of ZBrush, Substance Painter and 3ds Max in order to rig and animate them.
All our animations were from XML.
So from playtesting, we had three main takeaways. The first was movement. So we had to fix some of the animations as well as the speed of both the boat and the walking. And then this played into our feedback about the map design. People thought the map was too big, so we tried to resize it, but ended up fixing the issues with the walking speed and the boat speed. We also added some environmental guidance so the players knew where to go. And this was done by adding breakable walls and the beacons that Zhangwen talked about previously. And finally, we refined the puzzles because they were too vague, and we made them more fun for the users to interact with and experiment with. So looking back on the entire design process of the game, there are a few things that we have learned from and we overcame along the way. First was our scope, which initially was too large, but we had eventually refined the game down to a reasonable size and got a game we were happy with. Second is our organization. Our file management could have been better, but by the end of it, we had the system down and were able to merge and work together easily.
Another area that we found some hiccups in was our asset planning. Original asset lists were either incomplete in what we needed or had frivolous things that we didn't need, and we did not update them as practically as we should have. And then finally, our design document was not really created in full at the beginning of the process, so we wasted a little bit of time at the beginning. But overall, we were able to overcome all these difficulties and create a product that we're really proud of and would definitely want to keep working on if we had more time. Thank you.
And we'd pop on into the world, see the nice, beautiful skies and waters of the ruins, have good textures and good, Young spent a lot of time creating the water texture, making interact with the boat and the terrain around it, which is sooner later. And Mitch set up all the wonderful shading of the landscape of the different types of grass and sand. And over here we have our first puzzle with a pretty cool little beacon effect set up by John. There, and there's the citadels that we are trying to get, but we can't jump through no windows.
Yeah, the objective of the game is to go around the 4 islands and collect the 4 sigils, which you can see in the HUD on the left side of the screen. Will become more apparent in a second when we get the first sigil.
Yeah. We can hear all the levers and doors whirring.
They can see we got the first of our 4 sigils.
And yeah, now from here you can see in the distance some other islands to explore. And we've fallen down. This is weird boat thing, and it attacks you. And that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
They're mean little things. But we can hop aboard this boat and sail.
Modeling a boat was one of the harder things to model, as it curves in 3 axes at the same time, so making that look sweet and nice was a challenge, but it looks pretty good, along with one's shader on it. But here we have some structural walls that to showcase the cannon we created. One went in the particle bikes there really nice.
And as we arrive on this first island here, well, we don't want to give away all the puzzles, so you will have to simply play the game to see close-ups of the rest of the island.